Hello, beautiful soul. My name is Kim, and I'm the founder of Aruba Coaching. I am a psychic. I work with the Akashic Records. It's my aim to support women on their path to living their divinity. And one of the other things that I do is I work with ceremonial cacao, which is truly one of my most favorite self-healing and self-love practices. So today, in preparation for perhaps a cacao ceremony or a self-cacao ceremony that you would like to host at home, I'm going to show you how I prepare my cacao pretty much on a daily basis. So I'll show you first what we're going to be needing. We're going to be needing a pot or a pan. This pan I dedicated to be my cacao pan, so I don't use it to, prepare anything with onions or other flavors that I do not wish to have in my cup of ceremonial cacao. You will need a chopping board, a knife, a whisk. That's a key utensil for your cacao, a spoon, and a cup or a glass. I would probably say a cup that's slightly bigger than this. I like to use a glass cup because that's just, I like to see my cacao and hold it. It's nice and warm, but you can use whatever you feel like. So, and then of course the ingredients. So I'm going to choose to make my cacao with water today. I've infused it with, it is actually solar water, so it's water that I've kept outside in the sun, and I've infused it with shungite crystal and with clear crystal so that the vibration of the water is really as optimal as possible. Then, of course, we're going to use our cacao. Mine looks slightly different than yours probably does. Mine is actually in kind of like a peanut butter paste, chocolate paste type consistency because I grind my own cacao, and I just made or prepared a new batch yesterday, so it's nice and fresh. Your cacao will probably look like a bar of cacao, either little flakes or little discs. So whatever you have is absolutely perfect. And then I like to add a couple of spices. I use a little bit of Himalayan salt to give to balance out the sweetness in the cacao. I like to use some cinnamon. You can use either sticks, which I use, or ground cinnamon powder. I use some cayenne pepper to give it that spice and to allow the veins of our body to open up even further to absorb the beautiful medicine that cacao is. I like to use some turmeric, either the powder or the root, as I have it available here at the moment. And then I like to add a little bit of pepper. In this case, I have red pepper actually, or black pepper, just to activate the turmeric even further. And then I'll explain that in a moment. You can really add whatever you're guided to. Some cardamom, for example. You can add a little bit of honey or some cane sugar or some coconut sugar, whatever you like. One important piece as well is that I kind of alternate. At times, I like to use a plant-based milk. I recommend to use actual cow's milk because that, yeah, it doesn't go well with the properties of cacao. So really recommended. And one of my favorites is oat milk, but of course there's soy milk, there's coconut milk, there's hemp milk, there's rice milk. Really experiment. What I found is that the consistency of my cacao will very much change depending on the type of milk and the brand as well. So I've gone through a range of different types of milk until I found my absolute favorite, which is this one for now. And of course, that can change over time as well. I'm going to be showing you the process with water because that's the original recipe as it has been used by the Mayans, the Aztecs in the southern and central South American regions. So let's get cracking. So what I usually do is I start with my cup and I fill it with water. I fill it up. So you have your cup of water and you put it in the pan, and you can start the fire or the stove and put it up to like a medium heat. For context, like I have like 9 different levels of heat. I usually put it on a 5 or a 6, so like an intermediate heat, because it's important that we do not boil our cacao, because that simply destroys all of the properties which we're intending to allow to absorb in our body. So for most of you, you'll have your cacao block, which is what you're going to prepare next. As the water is heating, you're going to grab your cacao and you're going to prepare a ceremonial dose of cacao. So there's different recipes and different people that will give you different measures. So ultimately, find what works for you. What I've been taught by my teacher, Amber Wolfmoon, is that 21 grams is the ceremonial doses. I don't have a scale here in my house at the moment, so I really just go by feeling. But do the maths. If you have a block of 400, well, it's, yeah, check how many centimeters or what that would be. And often the supplier of your cacao will kind of give you an indication of that's about 2 tablespoons of chopped up cacao. So with your knife, you're just going to chop a piece off of your cacao and just chop it finely into little pieces. When I was first starting to work with cacao, I thought, oh, maybe a grater grating it would be nice. But actually what I find is that a lot of the cacao gets stuck in the grater, so it's just so much more effective to chop it up with a knife. And then once you've chopped it up, or in my case, once I have my paste ready, I'm gonna add that to the water. So I typically add about 1.5 spoons, because for me, my personal taste is that it doesn't need to be super strong for me, because I'm used to working with the energy, and it's beside the energy, the frequency of the cacao is also the sacred space that you create. So I'm just adding my cacao. And one thing that I forgot to mention at the start is actually I prepare my space. So you can see the kitchen is super clean. I just had a shower before. I put on a dress that I only use in my sacred space. So I come in and prepare this with a clean, pristine, divine energy. So it's not, I've had a super busy day or I slept really badly, the kids are on my nerves, and you come in and you infuse your kind of like, yeah, angry, anxious, nervous energy into your cacao. So what I recommend is just have a quick shower or cleanse yourself. I use a little bit of Palo Santo or sage to just clear my energy. Maybe you like to put on a little bit of music or some incense or a candle. Really do what would make it into a sacred ritual from the very start. So not once you sit down and you start drinking your cacao, actually from the very start. So we have our cacao in the water, and you can choose to add the rest of your ingredients now. So I'll tell you what I add, and you can kind of find your own variation. So I typically add a little bit of salt, just literally like a little pinch. I added too much recently, and that was not a very pleasant experience. So a little bit of salt, a little bit of cayenne pepper, like literally just a pinch. And of course, everybody will have their own taste buds. So like I said, go with your recipe. Then I have my cinnamon, where I will just grab a small piece of a cinnamon stick. So kind of like, yeah, like a thumb. Add that into my cacao. What else? I add a little bit of pepper. Activate my turmeric. But really, these 3 things, a little bit of salt, a little bit of cinnamon, and a little bit of chili, would be perfect to start with, because that way you can really taste the bitterness, the essential flavor of the cacao, rather than adding in a lot of different other elements. This is simply the recipe that I've come to like over time. So yeah, find your own is really the message that's coming through. A little bit of pepper, and then I'm going to add a kind of like a centimeter of turmeric into my cacao. And we start stirring. And so what is typically done as the cacao keepers, the farmers were preparing their cacao, or the mothers and grandmothers back in the days, they would often sing. So I'll share a song in the link. There's several songs that you can sing which illustrate or highlight the fact that this is a medicine that we're working with. It's a medicine because it's a beautiful plant-based substance that we are absorbing into our body. It has, when you buy it from a certified, from a ceremonial cacao supplier, you know that it has been planted with the intention of being used for ceremonial purposes. So that already changes it from being just a normal regular cup of cacao. And so you can infuse your intention as you are preparing your own cup of cacao. So you can infuse the things that you would like to receive, that you would like to manifest, by stirring clockwise. So you can add in harmony, peace, love, whatever your intention is. And when we stir anti-clockwise, you can ask what or highlight the things you would like to let go. So perhaps I would like to let go of my anxiety, perhaps I would like to let go of my limiting beliefs, my sadness around a certain situation, whatever it is. And as you're preparing it, you can sing songs. So there's this one song which goes like this: Cacaocita la medicina, which is cacao, little cacao, the medicine. And I'll add it to the description below, so you can even play it and sing with it. And there's a bunch of different other ones that you can use. And so really it's about being mindful throughout this process of preparing your cacao. And maybe in about 5 minutes, you'll see that the cacao starts to dissolve. So you just keep stirring until all the cacao has dissolved. And once it reaches a boil, you can stop and take it off the fire. And that's essentially it. And then, so I'm just waiting for mine to boil here, or to come to a boil, not to boil it. And that is it. That's as simple as it can get, really. There's some people that like to put their cacao, their water, their milk, all the different spices into a blender, blend it briefly, and then heat it up in a pot or a pan. I personally love the feminine touch of, just slowly with love heating it up. So I never really use a blender. I haven't at all, to be honest, used a blender before, because I find that's quite a masculine energy you're adding in, that those electrical currents and stuff. So I prefer this way of working with cacao. And so that's really it. So once I'm done, I will just pour it into my cup. I always leave just 1 or 2 tablespoons of cacao in the pan to give back to Mother Nature. So I have beautiful plants in the balcony, or perhaps if you have a garden, it's a beautiful offering back to Mother Nature to thank her for this beautiful medicine. So this is what my cup of cacao looks like. It's this beautiful, frothy, amazing, scented, spiced cacao. And so I typically go outside, cleanse the cacao an extra time with incense or Palo Santo sage, and then I start my ritual. So I hope you enjoyed. If there are any questions, do reach out to me on social media at ruacoaching.com, or drop me a note on my website. Enjoy the sacred moment of self-love, of self-healing. And I hope to see you in one of my online or offline ceremonies someday in the future. Sending so much love. Enjoy your ceremony. Mwah.